can you see this person's perspective, but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Hello. I feel like we're the ultimate Mrs. Doubtfires here. Hello.
Hello. We are here. We are live.
We're live.
Not an archive, not from the vault. We are here enjoying this time together. And you guys, if you want to be participants, you can be. All you have to do is leave a comment wherever you're watching. And we try to get to as many people as we possibly can with comments. And today, I think we're going to have a lot of people who understand this topic.
What is our topic today, Devon?
Well,
nothing really changes. Welcome back. What are we talking about today?
That's right. I just throw Teri into the water because Teri's like that because she can. And that's why she makes such a good coach and why she was so life-saving for me, because I never knew what my life was going to bring. And I just would show up going, help me. And so here's the deal. I was watching Goldcast this morning on social media with Danny Trejo, who is an actor. He came from a very sordid past. Okay. Drug dealer, criminal, time in San Quentin, the biggest, the baddest, the worst. When he got out and when he started over again, he came back with this new renewed faith. He wanted to be an actor and he scared people. He literally scared people. And, you know, little old ladies, he was trying to help them. He was like trying to take their trash cans down for me. Please do not rob me, Danny. Please do not rob me, Danny. They wouldn't take his amends. They were still scared of him. He had to really work. And now he has a big mural in his community because of all the people he's helped. And he's a speaker about recovery across America. But he said, it really takes time to earn back trust.
Okay.
And it's hard. And I thought about, you know, any of us have ever made a mistake with someone. Maybe we've misjudged someone. Maybe we've said something and it's gotten back to them. Maybe we've treated someone poorly because we had substance issues. Maybe we've made a horrible mistake. How do we get someone to take our amends, and how do we rebuild relationships after a big mistake? And that's what today is about.
Okay. Well, first off, you don't get somebody to accept your amends. You just make your amends, and you know that it comes from your heart, from a place of integrity, compassion, concern, and honesty. And if they take it, they take it. And if they don't, you find a way to be okay with knowing that you were accountable in your actions and in your thought process. And if they accept it, that's great. Sometimes it can be there. This can be obviously with family, friend, spouse. It can be with anybody, right? Former partners, who knows? So you're not responsible for forcing someone to take an amends. You're responsible for being accountable for your action and taking accountability for your action and whatever fallout it might have caused. You're not responsible for changing it. Like, he can't go back and change the things that he did in his past, but he can live from a place of integrity moving forward. And those that come on board with that, fantastic. And those that don't, well, they miss out on his genuine his genuine transformation.
Yep. Elizabeth is joining us. Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth. There's examples in my life. I had someone who came to me to make amends, and they needed to make amends. Okay. Just, addiction is addiction, and they had stolen things. I had gotten them a job and they had stolen things from that job. I'd gotten them a place to live that was furnished, and they stole everything that they could get money for. They stole a car to, it just, there was a lot of stuff. And
they were full blown in their unhealthy.
Full blown in their unhealthy.
Yeah.
And then 2 years and a recovery center later, they were well into their healthy. And I refused to take amends. I refused. I said, I don't want to hear it. I don't. I've taken you back. I've taken you back. I've taken you back over and over and over again. And when I got the call about 2 years later that this person had passed, not in their addiction, but in their healthy, done a lot of damage to their body. So that's kind of where that started out. But oddly enough, I didn't look and go, well, so they're finally gone or whatever. What I did was I felt bad that I wouldn't take those amends. I felt really sad that I had missed 2 years of healthy with this person that I had given so much, invested so much time and love in. So if you are listening right now and someone in your life is really trying to turn around, just because they have had some serious mistakes, just because they have really hurt you poorly and hurt you badly, when they're in their healthy, I think giving them room to grow in that healthy by saying, okay, we'll start from here. I'm not going to hold anything over you. It frees us, not them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the thing.
Yeah. And the other part about that is, when someone is making an amends, it's not saying that things go back to the way they were. Like if you've had a person in your life that you feel like they need to make amends and they make an amends, it doesn't mean that things, go back, to the way that they were. It means that a person is just saying, hey, I was a shit. And I really want to own that. Or our communication was off and I didn't quite understand you. And I want to own the fact that I didn't speak up to understand you. Or, someone has hurt you, so they come at you and you don't, like in your case, you didn't want to take the amends. You don't have to take the amends. You don't have to. But I will say this. Had I known you then, we would have had this conversation. How is hanging on to the anger helping you? What are you getting out of hanging on to that anger? Like, you don't have to accept their apology and then go, ooh, I want you back in my life. But you can figure out why that anger keeps you safe.
Oh, that's good.
Because the anger isn't bothering them.
Right.
It's attacking your nervous system. It's attacking your cells. It's the dis-ease within you. Now, people can be in their raw state and they can be angry and they can be mad. But if they choose to stay in that because it makes them feel safe, because if they accepted amends, then suddenly they may feel like, well, now I'm prey again. You're not prey to that person. Not at all. That person can say, hey, look, I'm owning this. Here you have it. You have the right, depending on the experience you've had with them, to accept it or not. There is no right. There is no wrong.
Okay, now come on, Daisy. Now you can't go chase the cat.
Daisy.
Anyway, Elizabeth says that's why living amends are so important. Words can get repeated without action.
Absolutely. The best apology is a change of behavior.
Elizabeth also said, so true. Accepting amends doesn't have to mean we are besties again, and accepting can free us. I love what I pick up from listening to you.
Aww.
Yeah. Teri has so many of these wisdom moments. And I love that. I love that.
Well, let's be real. Teri has lived a lifetime of many regrets, many wishings to do overs, many, damn, did that come out of my mouth? Or man, I wish I had said that. So I'm not any more special than anyone else is out there. It's just a matter of owning our shit, calling bullshit on ourselves and owning it. Doesn't matter how long I've been doing the work I do. There's not a day that goes by that I don't find some corner with an emotional dust bunny that I go, let me clean that out, you know? So I appreciate you and Elizabeth both and your kind words, but you know, you guys have been on this journey as well. You know what it's like to get up every day and go, okay, I get to choose. Do I want to be better than the person I was yesterday? You know, and not that competitive thing where you just got to be better than you were, because that's just crazy making.
Yeah.
As I sip my coffee out of my favorite mug that my friend Devon gave me. I don't know if y'all can see this or not.
There's not enough sage in the world for this shite.
That's right. That's right. So cheers to that, my friends.
Yeah. And it's so funny because of all the coffee cups, I picked one that Teri gave me today, fall vibes. And
there you go.
Today, I was like, see, we're all on the same wave. We're all on the same wave. Elizabeth also adds, I also think we can learn to let go of the wrongs without ever getting that apology or amends. I have forgiven folks and never gotten the apology. That's good. Someone said, well, I'm not going to give forgiveness because they didn't earn it.
And that's their right. That's their right. But I can tell you this, a person that offers amends and a genuine amends and a person that accepts it, both heal and both grow. If a person is not ever, you might not be in the place for the amends when they're knocking on your door or ringing your phone. You might not be in that place. But if you find yourself 10, 15, 20 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 3 years down the road, and you're still hanging on to, you know, well, that's not because someone has wronged you. That's because you're addicted to unhappiness.
Candy says, hello, everyone.
Candy, how are things in Waverly, Candy? It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. I will say that following Candy on TikTok is fantastic. She has some really cool wisdom. She's been doing her 90 days of self-reflection, and she's been sharing. Oh my gosh, it's just incredible. So if you have TikTok, following her on that is a really good idea. Elizabeth says, forgiveness is for us. Forgiveness frees us. It doesn't let them live rent-free in our heads anymore.
Fair enough.
That's really good. One of the things that I've watched when I've been really one of those kind of people that I expected someone to forgive me if I was very contrite and I said, you know, yeah, I messed up or whatever. I wanted them to forgive me. But then I caught myself not being ready to forgive somebody else who came to me with the same hat in hands. I'm so sorry. And so I had to look at that character flaw within myself. I go, why is it? And it always stemmed from, I'm afraid to get hurt again.
Absolutely. And a lot of times, Devon, what happens in that is people, let's say, for instance, you and I get into some kind of disagreement and it spills over and then it's just butt ugly. And so now I come to you with an amends and I'm wanting to make it right from my perspective, but you still have your perspective and you said some pretty ugly things to me too. So if I'm coming to you with an amends because I think, well, if I give Devon an amends, then she'll give me one. If I forgive her, then she'll forgive me. A lot of times people get in that sort of trade-off where there's an expectation that if I forgive them, they'll forgive me. Or if I offer them an amends, then they'll do the same. That's not a genuine, transparent forgiveness. A forgiveness is, by definition, erasing away the attachment that we have to whatever it was that happened. You don't erase away the words, the experience. You don't do any of that, but you do erase away the attachment that you have to it, and your verbal or nonverbal contract to stay mad.
Right.
You know, it's so easy for us in our world today to stay mad. There's a lot of stuff that supports people being mad. I mean, get in your car and drive 5 miles down the road. You'll be mad about something because there'll be somebody doing something that irritates you. But being in that space of, and you're right, forgiveness, asking amends, asking for forgiveness, it makes people vulnerable.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that's the thing, is that if a person is asking for an amends, they're not too wrapped up in the fact that they are being vulnerable. In fact, they're saying, I know I was wrong, without saying, I know we were both wrong. How many times have you heard somebody say that? You know, I know I was wrong, but you were wrong too. But I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm sorry. You know, that doesn't get you anywhere. It's not even genuine.
That is so true, so true.
You
Annie
know?
is with us. Annie and Angie, good to have you there on the road. Good to have you. Candy says Waverly's still kicking, so we love our Waverly family. And Annie also adds, you can forgive but not forget. There's a big difference. I've always said that, but for me, when I say I will forgive, but I'm not going to forget, which means I'm not really forgiving. I know that.
To say, that's pretty much what that means.
Yeah.
You know, if it says, I'm going to forgive you, but I'm not going to forget what you did. That's like, I'm going to say I'm going to forgive you, but my antenna is up and I'm watching. Now, there is a difference in if someone has harmed you. You know, lots of people have parents or partners or former partners or kids or friends or whatever that have harmed them emotionally or even maybe physically in some way. And you won't forget that happened, and you might proceed with caution, but you're still not holding it over their head if they come to you and say, I really am trying to make a difference. I'm trying to change. You know, a lot of times, and when we started doing this way back in the day, you know, I reflected a lot on the gentleman that I worked with at Riverbend Maximum Security Prison. You know, those guys in there, many of them were in there because they did some stupid shit and they got locked up. But that doesn't mean that they aren't worthy of making an amends and getting a fresh start. It doesn't mean that their family or their friends or whoever it was that they, you know, harmed against aren't still watching. But it can mean that they are entitled to, and I say they, meaning any of us, are entitled to a do-over. And sometimes people need 5 or 6 do-overs. And with each one of those do-overs, like you were talking about with your friend, as we started this show, with each one of those do-overs, it's not uncommon for that person to peel another layer of armor back. And it's like, you know, while they're trying to get the vulnerability from you, not from any malfeasance, but they're just trying to get the vulnerability, you're over here putting another layer on, because it's like, well, you've said you won't do this again, and you have. And at some point, there's got to be we can call it a come to Jesus or a full cycle bullshit moment, whatever we want to call it, where we sit down and we go, okay, look, for real, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
Right. Jen joins us, hopping on a few minutes during her lunch break. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jen. Good to have you. Elizabeth says, I learned the best lesson in forgiveness when someone I wronged in a twisted and evil way forgave me. Today, we are truly best friends again. That's when the beauty of life and love all works together, and where nobody is going, well, we got to be equal in this forgiveness thing. No, forgiveness is not anything about equal. It's not about earning. It's not about someone being even right. Sometimes that forgiveness just starts with, in my heart, I don't want to carry around all this ick for you. I don't want to carry around all this.
And the other part of that is, Devon, not getting stuck in that cycle, because sometimes people will, they'll say, I want to offer an amends. I want to ask for forgiveness. I want to straighten things out, make things right, do what it is that I need to do to clear it up in my soul. And I want to set that right with you also. And if that person, shuts down and doesn't want to accept that from you, you have to be there's a fine line there between being responsible with your words and not becoming codependent in a way on, well, now they have to forgive me, so now I need to jump through more burning hoops for them to prove to them that I really am asking for forgiveness, or I really am sorry. Because there's some people out there in the world that will have you forgive for decades, and they get a sick pleasure out of watching you almost beg for them to be okay with you again. If you're dancing around some kind of bonfire with somebody like that, kick it. Put your I'm sorry, put your forgive me, put your whatever it is you need to put down, and walk the hell away. Release them, love them, wish them well, and get the hell out of Dodge, because they will wear you down and they will have you begging them to accept their forgiveness. You don't need to beg anybody to accept your forgiveness. If you're right in your heart with what it is you're asking forgiveness for, or owning your part in a role, and someone scoffs that away,
right,
it's their right to scoff it away. But don't keep knocking on that door. Like, if they ever are wanting to circle around, they'll circle around. And then you got to make sure you're in your adult self to answer that door. But don't get in a habit of feeling like you've got to just set yourself on fire to keep somebody else warm, because you absolutely do not. Don't question your forgiveness when you're genuinely asking for an amends or asking for forgiveness. Don't question that. Get clear with it.
Yeah.
But don't beg for it.
A shout out to Suzanne. It's good to have you with us again. Yes, we are live, and we are here. One of the things that I have watched too is that just because you make amends with someone, just like you said, doesn't mean that you're supposed to have them in your life. Because if you are in a recovery place and someone consistently, don't forget that there are those codependent people who have been in your life, who might have been a key part of your addiction, using habits to begin with. And when you get into recovery, it'll shine the light on the people who wanted to keep you sick. And you might discover that as you make amends, going, oh, they're making me grovel, they're making me this, they're making me that. They're really just waiting for me to screw up. That can put you right back where you were if you're not careful. So it doesn't mean you have to be friends with those people. You make your amends and move on. But here's the thing, is that the joy of making amends in life, your living amends, is sometimes in just doing good things for other people. And it doesn't mean the people of the past. Maybe you need a new group, and it's one day at a time, changing your life, doing good things. And that can be done. And if people want to keep you in the sick place, they're in a sick place.
I always say, I share with people often, you can tell a lot. Now there is oftentimes, we get in a place where we share things from an awareness standpoint, like on social media, for instance. We might share things from an awareness standpoint, but I always say that you can tell a person and kind of where their mindset is by what they share more consistently than not. If you share with people just funny, uplifting things that make people smile, things that warm the heart, that's a better description of kind of where you are emotionally and mentally. Of course, every once in a while, somebody's going to share something that is a little more disturbing. It may be around animals. It may be around trafficking. It may be around things like that, which are more of a PSA sort of, versus the person that shares just the constant negative stuff all the time that you
Right.
find you just want to block because it's like, I can't do this anymore. And so, that's a good way to check yourself. Go back. If you're a social media bug, go back and scroll through your feed and see kind of what it is you're putting out there in the world. Because that's a
your
part
subconscious truth comes out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's a way to kind of see like, well, why do I have all these people in my life that are so negative? Well, I don't know, maybe it's because you're putting a bunch of negative stuff out there. And so they're coming back at you. So,
And he says, sometimes you offer that olive branch of peace and forgiveness only to have someone beat you with it again later. You have to be careful who you forgive because people will do the same thing again.
Well, and to that, I'm going to say, I don't know. It's that and everybody has their rights. So I'm not saying this is not you don't have the right to feel that way, Annie, but I will say this, I don't necessarily have to be careful with who I forgive. I have to be careful with how I attach my expectation to them. I can forgive them for doing something. And then if I say, I forgive you, and now I don't expect you to do that again. Well, that's where I've missed the nail, because I can forgive the badger for biting my hand when I reach down into the badger nest and go, oh gosh, I startled it. But if I forgive the badger for doing it, and then I just keep reaching in the nest and think, well, it just won't do it again, by its nature, by its character, by its programming, by its whatever, whether it's the bird nest, the snake. Now, the snakes have nests. I don't know, but whatever, the dog biting your hand, if you I can forgive the fire for burning me, but if I keep putting my hand in the fire, then how many times, like I don't have an expectation. I'm going to forgive that. And then I'm not going to have an expectation that they will or won't do it again. I will, as Annie was saying, I don't want to be beat with the olive branch again. So I'm going to step outside that fray. So if they're stretched with the olive branch is 3 foot, then you're going to stand 5 foot away. So they might still do the same thing again, but you're not energetically or emotionally connected to it. So you're outside of that.
Right. Candy says, I had an ex that harmed me, but I forgave him and did not hold on to what happened. I can remember it now without the emotion of anger, hurt, and loss or any of that. It's just a memory from one of many lives from my past. Boy, that's some serious growth, Candy. That's amazing. Elizabeth says, that's why I will forgive, but not allow back into my life. Forgiveness doesn't mean I trust again. I get that.
And there's a fine line there between getting clear on whether that person is trustworthy or whether it's your unhealed wounds. When people have done their work, they know, oh, okay. I've worked with people before that will say, I've done my work. I love this person who is, a child of mine, and I've done my work and I realize I can forgive them for what they've done. But I also know that they're not going to change. And I know that and I know that sounds very double standardish, but when they're in active addiction, they have to be willing to do some things in order for things to change. And so, I know they're not going to change right now in this moment. So therefore, I don't trust them. I don't trust them to let them in my home. I don't trust them to let them borrow my car. I don't trust them. I don't trust them because they're not doing anything to show me that they're trustworthy. That's different than someone coming and saying, I'd like to offer forgiveness, or I'd like to ask for forgiveness. I did this at this point and, I've changed. Now, if you look at that person and you go, well, I don't trust you. If you haven't seen that person in some time, you're still hanging on to the old wound.
Yep.
because you haven't been in the company of this person to see if they've changed. So there's two different ways. There's two different sides of that teeter totter, you know, and everybody's own personal experience is going to pull from that. Like Elizabeth said, you know, she might have someone in her life that she recognizes this is just how they show up, because this is how they are showing up in their words, in their actions, in their everything. And they're not a safe person for me. So therefore, I can't trust that they are going to be a healthy person. Versus, like you were saying, someone who has leaned into their healthy and they're living a healthier life, and they come and they ask for that forgiveness. And you're in a place where you haven't been around them, don't know anything going on with them. But if you just go, absolutely not, and you shut it down, you don't know. So, and that's probably why, you know, not to psychoanalyze, because I don't do that shit, but that's probably where some of that pain came up for you, because had you leaned into that amends, you might have had a window of time to know this person differently.
Right. Exactly. Candy says, once I forgive, I can see that person again, but I'm just more cautious until I see how they are. And I listen to my instincts. Just to play off that, I know we're getting close to the end here, but when we cannot control someone's life after the amends. And by that, I mean, if someone comes to you and they say, I'm sober, I've changed, I've done whatever. Yeah, well, you're just going to have to show me, and I'm just going to have to do that. And you cannot become their school marm, checking their phone. You cannot check everything, look and see what alcohol they're getting. You cannot control them into the person you wish they were. You have to let them become the person you hope that they can become. You have to let them be that, because other than that, control is a form of codependency that is never going to give you good satisfaction. And if you don't feel like you can love a person without controlling them, that says everything about you and nothing about them.
Right. And you have to be honest and not only see them, but see yourself for who you are, and not who you want them to be or how you want to be seen.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people, and we've all done it. We're all guilty of it. You know, we go to the closet in the morning and we get the mask, you know, and we put the mask on, and it's the social mask or the this mask or the that mask or da 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 da. And then we can, you know, with true friends, we can take that mask off and we can be more relaxed. There are some people whose masks are like a foot thick, so you really don't ever know who they are. And then there's some people whose masks are kind of paper thin, and you know who they are, even if you don't really know them well. You know, they just show you who they are, and that doesn't mean they're good or bad. It just means that, you know, seeing people for who they are and not who you want them to be. Loving people from where they are and not how healed you need them to be or how much forgiveness you need from them. Seeing where they are and not judging, but being aware that at any given time, one of you, whether it's your friend, your family, you know, whatever it is in your life, you're going to be a few steps ahead of them. And sometimes they might just be a few steps ahead of you. And there's no competition. If we're competing in life, then we're not happy.
True. Elizabeth, that's exactly why I love my soul tribe so much. I never have to wear my masks with them. I can be 4 days from a shower and they're going to love me anyway. They might stand 6 feet away, but they're going to love me no matter what. And I love them no matter what. I love that. And Annie adds, most times I love people from a distance. My circle is small. I have trust issues.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with having a small circle, Annie. There's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, I think people recognize when they do have smaller circles, they feel more, we can call it trust issues, but I think that most people realize when they do have smaller circles that they are more accessible to their authenticity. I no longer need, I think if any of y'all have been on my, well, I mean, my Facebook is private. If we're friends on Facebook, then you know. I mean, I think I've got like 150 friends on Facebook. There was one point I had over whatever the maximum thing was, because people would send me messages and say, I friend requested you, but no. And I don't have that many friends on Facebook. That doesn't mean I don't have that many friends. It just means that social media is not my life. There's a lot of folks that are geared by the numbers. They're geared by that feeling, that collectiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think small circles are good. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong. What do I know?
Candy says, I love my small circle of friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing. It's what we do. It's how we are. And I never consider my public page on Facebook indicative of my true friends. I have a public forum there, and it's great, and I love it. And but I do, and the people who are in my small circle of friends, they know who they are.
Right. Well, you're also in a different avenue of, you've been in the radio business for decades. So as a personality in public, you don't have much choice but to max out every one of your pages. I don't have to do that. So,
it's like for decades.
I know I said that. It was like, for decades. You've been here for
decades. Dear God.
Good Lord, you've been here for decades.
That has been back when we used to use a hand crank to do it. It's like, okay. Elizabeth says, same here. I have a lot of acquaintances on social media because of a certain friend, but that doesn't represent my friends. It's true.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's the beauty of it. I think that, I think, and you all know, we all know those people that you have your little group chats with, or you have your little things with, and you know that you can go to them when you're at your best and you're going to get the woohoos, and you can go with them when you're at your absolute worst and you're going to get the, I got you. And you also can go with them with complete transparency and honesty and go, look, I fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I did, or here's what I said, or here's how I acted. And you don't get them going, oh, it's okay. You deserve, I tell people all the time, if your immediate circle always agrees with you, if they call themselves ride or dies and they always agree with you and they never hold you accountable, and they never say, hey, well, let's look at it from this perspective. If they don't ever do those things, you don't have ride or dies. You've got enablers.
Ooh, oh, y'all. Did y'all just hear that? Oh my God, that's so true. That is so true. And I always question the person that has to surround themselves with yes people, because if they do, that says everything about them. And flying monkeys comes to mind in that particular situation. Enablers are not what we need. We need friends, people who will tell us, whether we've got spinach in our teeth, does that make your butt look big? Or the truth, you've harmed me, and what you said is not good.
Or how you treated that other person is not okay.
Yeah, that's not okay. And you need people who are your checks and balances. And Candy just did a big old mic drop on that one. She says, drop the mic. Elizabeth says, I got ride or dies. We tell each other the truth. And that, and that's it. Telling people the truth in love is part of it. Well, I knew that this would be an important topic. If you have a topic, you can let us know. You can message us here after the show, whatever. We do keep up with all of these messages, whether it's on Teri's Transcending Turbulence page, my Devon O'Day pages, whether you are on Twitter today, on YouTube, we are here. And now we're getting back in the swing of things. I had some things. I changed the way I was doing everything. And so,
we've just been shifting. We went through a season of shifting and transplanting. And now we are blooming again.
That's right. We're blooming, and y'all can bloom with us. Launch date is brought to you on Wednesdays around the noon hour. So we like our lunch, our lunchable friends, our lunchable
That's
friends.
right. And if you're on the East Coast, I guess it's a late lunch, and if you're on the West Coast, then it's maybe a brunch. But whatever.
Yeah, but whatever, a coffee
Yeah.
break. A coffee break. It's
That's
whatever. Well,
And this is the season for blooming for everybody. So I'm so glad I told you this when we were talking yesterday. I'm so glad that we have transitioned back into doing, some lives again. And it's just it's good. It's good for the soul to do those things. So
it truly is.
And I so enjoy everyone that's joining in with us. So
my favorite part of the week. Well, y'all, I'm gonna turn it over to Teri to take us home.
I feel like we're at the Grand Ole Opry all of a sudden. Like I feel like I should be playing a musical instrument, and I'm like, well, no. All jokes aside, we absolutely appreciate every one of you for choosing to spend your time with us, for adding your wisdom and your insight in with us. And we're so glad to be back and in the stream of this consciousness again.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see you next Wednesday. And until then, carve out time to be kind to yourself. If you need to make an amends, maybe work on that. If someone comes to you with an amends, maybe give yourself some time to tell them, let me think about it. And then until we see y'all next week, increase your peace.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Take care.